Hi, I'm Rocco from Rocco's Smokehouse, and we're proud to sponsor this video.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My name is James Cameron. No, not this James Cameron, this James Cameron. I grew up in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York. I now live in Virginia. But before all of that, I had another passion. I loved Rolls-Royces. Well, a few years ago, I accomplished my dream. I purchased a 1985 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur. And that's where the nightmare began. But it was through trial and error that I discovered that there was a way to actually purchase these cars and maintain them that could save the buyer of future cars like this thousands of dollars. Now that is the sound of power. Let's take a trip. Come on, come along with me. I have now taken that knowledge and will now share it with you. My name is James Cameron, and I want to welcome you to the Rolls-Royce and Bentley University Buyer's Guide. Let's start class. Well, class, we're here at Rodney's because, like I said, what we're going to do in this episode is talk about a very important item. And that very important item is tires. Because without the correct tires, if you have a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley, you're going to have a terrible ride. Even if everything else, your shocks, your springs, all your other situations to get your ride together is together, if you don't have the right tires with the right inflation, you're gonna have a terrible experience. So I'm here with my friend, Rodney.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
We've known each other now since 2005. So when I got my Rolls, and it took me a while, I wanted to get white walls. I had black walls. I really didn't care for them. And I'm a person of a product of the 60s and 70s. And when you had those type of cars, when you had the Buicks, when you had the Cadillacs, when you had the Lincolns, and you had the better Chevys, you always had white walls. So I wanted white walls on my tires. I didn't want the big ones, but I wanted white walls. So I came to Rodney, and Rodney got me the white wall. So first thing, I want to thank you for my tires.
You're welcome.
Now, what I want to do with my class is to show them how they can get the right size tires that would work on their Rolls-Royce and Bentleys, and really kind of get into the minutia as to what makes one tire cost more than the other. So what I want to ask you is, for example, we know there's a myriad of different brands. You've got Goodyear, you've got Michelin's. All of them are different prices.
Right.
When I was initially looking at my tires for my size, and again, my size tires were
2, 35, 75, 15.
okay. Well, first thing I realized was that 15s are now, even though they used to be kind of normal, now they're not as normal anymore.
Because the newer cars have gone to a bigger rim and decreased the tire size.
Okay.
So they're going to 17s, 18s, 20s.
22s.
22s.
Even. Yeah, exactly. So that was the first thing that I learned. But what I want to try and get into now is these tires, depending on the brand, go anywhere from, say, I've been quoted 175 to as high as 325. Now, with those type of tires, what am I paying for? Am I paying for the quality of the tire, or am I paying for the brand?
Sometimes you're paying for the brand, and then sometimes you're paying for the quality of tires. Kind of like a two-edged sword.
Okay.
All right, let's say for an example, I sell a tire called Kenda. Kenda, anybody that rides a bicycle, motorcycle, or has an ATV, they're familiar with Kenda. Kenda's only been making tires since about 2001. So when you go to like a NASCAR race, they're running Goodyears. Well, Goodyear has to pay money to have their name out there on those tires.
Of course.
So to recoup that money, they gotta recoup it when they sell tires.
Right.
So, you know, it's like there's different companies that I have that don't advertise. You know, they don't spend marketing money on
Getting their name
ads and stuff like that. Whereas other companies do, so they got to recuperate the cost. An example of that was I used to own a vending machine company, and I distributed Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola. And the floor cost back then was like $5.75 for a case of Coke, yet I was paying $17. So what the rep told me was that they spend more money on marketing than they spend on cost of the product. So you got to recoup the money based on, you know, what it costs you to get out there and market. And you can't, if you're going to market, you're trying to sell stuff, so you got to market it and try to sell it.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Now the other question you had was about quality, and that's true. You do pay for quality. Like Michelin is quality. Bridgestone, Firestone, they're quality made tires. But then they do have advertising costs too.
Right.
But you know, I mean, if you want to buy, you know, most all Mercedes, BMWs, Audis come from the factory with Continentals. You know, my Mercedes, I run Continentals on it.
Okay.
So it depends. Another thing too, it depends on the car as to what type of tire you're going to put on it. You know, like my Vet, I run BFG G-Force.
Okay.
And that's a directional tire, which you mount it right and left. Some tires are asymmetric, which means you have an outside and an inside. Some are directional, and then some you can mount them any way you want to mount them.
Okay. All right.
So it really depends for me, in my vehicles, it depends on what my car is or my truck and what I want to get out of it from the tire that I put on it. Now, the other thing you got to look at is there's a load and speed rating. So the load rating is how much weight that tire can take.
That's what we looked at with my car, because my car is almost 4 tons.
Yeah, and then you have a speed rating, which means what the manufacturer says that tire is guaranteed to run at without, you know, completely
blowing
coming
up,
apart.
literally.
So there's H, there's T, there's S, there's V, there's W, there's Y. So there's different load and speed ratings. The way you can find that is on most cars, when you open the door up, on the pillar post, there's a little tag that sits right back in there, and it'll have front and rear, and it'll tell you what tire came on that car from the factory. Sometimes it's actually on the door that opens up, it'll be on the door itself. So that's how you can find out what tire load and speed rating came on your car from
Because
the factory.
when you looked at my car, it was right there on the panel.
Right.
It was right there on the panel. I have a quick question for you though. You mentioned all the different things and the variances of the tires and what makes quality tires and so on and so forth. But let me ask you a question. What about the stamp date?
The DOT date, a DOT date's on every tire. And you can find it on, they do it on one side. So when you find a DOT date, it'll say DOT and it's got numbers. It'll be like HJ4, 3HM, it's all different things. But right at the end of it, there's a little stamp and it'll have like 2021.
Right, that's the year in which the tire was actually made.
Right, if it had 2021, that tire was made in week 20 of year 2021.
Right.
So the other thing you gotta look at, tires start to break down after about 5 years.
Right.
So, you know.
So you might be getting a Michelin, but if the Michelin, not that the entity would ever sell you that type of car, and I'm not saying they would, but what also is the variances is that when was that tire actually made?
Right.
And how old is that tire that you're putting on regardless of the brand?
Well, basically that's it for looking at tires that are actually on your car now to see what the DOT date's on them. But when you go to buy tires, you should look at the DOT dates of what they're putting on your vehicle.
Absolutely.
They should be within the past year.
Exactly, exactly. So if I'm putting new tires on my car, new for the fact that I'm changing my tires from what I have, then this is 2021, so the stamp date should have at least 2021 on it.
2020.
2020.
It should be made within the last year.
Okay, all right.
One advantage I have over other people is I don't stockpile tires. Like a lot of times, different companies, they'll have a hub. And let's say they'll call up and they'll order 500 tires from a certain manufacturer.
Right.
And they just go and they stay in that hub.
Yeah.
And then they have 40 stores. So when the 40 stores need tires, they're pulling them out of that hub, and they won't reorder again until all those tires are depleted.
Right.
Whereas the way I order tires is I order from American Tire, Atlantic Tire, Max Fickelstein, and NTW. So I'm getting it directly from the distributor.
All
So
right.
if somebody calls me today, I'm gonna have their tires tomorrow. If they call me before 11 o'clock today, I can have them this afternoon from Atlantic, and then next week I'll be able to get ATD on a 2-day delivery. It's 2 times a day, so I can get tires delivered to me 2 times a day, fresh from the distributor. Now I do have common tire sizes back there, like the older vehicles, like a 195 60-15, 195 65-15, 205 55-16, the common stuff that a lot of people use all the
Right.
time. I stock that.
Because you're
And I
gonna be.
keep 4 units or 6 units or 2 units, whatever I know that's going to move, and I
Now, what
replenish
is
that
a unit for
tire,
you?
per tire, the tire.
Okay, a
The
unit
tire
is a
set.
tire. Okay.
So right now we've got about 130 tires back there in different sizes, starting at size 14 all the way up through 17.
Okay.
Common stuff,
But
but I
those-
know
but it's
somebody's going
common.
to drive in, and if
Exactly.
somebody drives in, they need 4 205 55-16s. I got them back there. I can put them on today. So you got to have some stuff in stock, the common stuff that sells. So when the customer comes in, you can give it to them right now and get them on their way.
Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about these screens right here. All right.
So you've never seen anything like this?
I've never, no, I've never seen this.
Well, I've got 4 screens, and I buy from 4 different manufacturers. Right now I've got ATD, Atlantic, and Max Fickelstein up, and then I've got the work order for tomorrow.
Okay.
So let's say you call in and you want a price on a 225 50 17.
Right.
I go up here and I put 225 50 17 in ATD, 225 50 17 in Atlantic, and 225 50 17 in Max Fickelstein. By the time I get back up here, I know what their price is. And if you're looking just for cost, you want so a lot of times my customers want the lowest price tire that they can get.
Right.
So I'll come back up here and I see the price of that one. I go to Atlantic, see the price of that one. I go to Max Fickelstein. Now let's say Atlantic's the cheapest, then I'm going to go up here to Atlantic and I'll tell them what the price of the tire will be. I'll show you how quick we can do it. Let's say a 205 55 16. So we're going to go here 205 55 16. Over here, 205 55 16. Make sure I put that in. Down here, 205 55 16. Then we come back up. This tire is going to cost the customer $75. This one's going to cost the customer $75, and this is going to cost $80. However, the Kenda is a better tire, so I'm going to get the customer this tire because this one's $60,000, that one's $50,000, and that one is only $40,000.
Okay. So you've discovered the pricing on, let's say, 3 different brands of tires that would fit this customer's car. Which one would you recommend based on the type of car that I have and the type of driving that I do? Then how do you answer that question?
Then if I'm driving a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce and I have an MG midget, I'm going to put good tires on it.
Okay.
I'm going to spend the money.
You're going to spend the money. Okay.
I'm sure a lot of your people that drive the older cars, nowadays there's something called an OEM,
Right.
which is original manufacturer's equipment. So I can pull up certain tires like a 255 65 18, and for Max Fickelstein, it'll tell me it'll have OEM on it, which means that's an OEM filament, so I can hit that and it'll tell me what that tire came on
Right.
on those particular cars. So sometimes if you got newer cars, you might want to stick with the OEM
Right.
filament until that car gets, to be 10 or 15 years old. Then you
Right.
can just switch over and get something else.
Now, I've had these tires now almost a year. Okay, it's been almost a year. And I almost fell on the floor when he told me how much I was going to be paying for the tires, and not fell in the floor in a bad way, but in an unbelievable way, because the tires, they were $90. And I
Yeah.
had been hearing 150, 160.
We put a set of Ironman white walls. Ironman is a division of Hercules, which is in conjunction with Cooper, but I mean, that's a good tire, so.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, if you go anywhere, you've never seen Ironman advertised. for
No,
tires, so.
no, exactly. Well, Rodney, listen, man, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, class, that's it for another edition. See you next time. Drive safe.